Hey guys, welcome back to this series on Call of Duty Radiant and how to make a zombie map. So in the first video you should have seen how to get this stock map simply by creating the scripts with the script placer, or in my case I used the Mr. Hanky app. So first off, what we're going to want to do is, I have something undone, so I guess I can teach you guys this early. For me, if you hit L, these are your layers. And if you come down here and click on filters, you have all these things right here. So now I'm going to click on everything just so you can see everything. So I'm going to hit path nodes, light grid, and portals. And these I'll get into depth later in some of my other videos. So, first things first. You can use this stock map right here and just build off of it, in which I did on my very first zombie map. You'll have to check it out. It's called Nazi Zombie Help on www.zombiemodding.com. But anyhow, what I like to do is I take things from this map. So for example, this prefab right here, which is like a custom built thing already. It's very simple to do. It's very easy to understand. And like these things right here, these are where your players will spawn, and if you're doing solo, this is where you'll spawn. And then also stuff like this, like these special sound effects and all this, and they call this a script struct. And to see all the, sorry about that, got interrupted there for a moment by my mother. Anyhow, so this is a script struct, and if you hit N, it'll bring up this little window right here. This is your key for right here, and this is your value. And I'm not familiar with these sounds and stuff, so that's why I usually just take them from the stock map. So for our purposes, I'm gonna hit File. We're gonna go New Map. Currently this one is unnamed, so what I'm gonna want to do is go into File, Open. And I'm not going to be using the stockpile map, so what I'm going to do is rename this one to Just for Kicks 1. So when we compile it, it won't use that map. Currently, it won't use any maps. So our unnamed map, wherever it may be. Oh, alright, so I'm going to hit cancel now. File, save as. It's currently unnamed. So we're going to go Nazi Zombie Just for Kicks, this one. And then I'm going to get rid of that one. So now it will, when we compile a level, it will compile this map. So first things first, I'm going to teach you some controls. If you left click and drag, we will create this brush right here, as you can see. To apply a texture to it, you simply shift left click. Now right there I just deselected, so I'm going to shift left click to select it. I'm just going to simply click on a texture, and there we go. I usually like to work on this. Oh, and right there guys, what I did was I did Control Tab to change the direction in my grid. If you want to move around in here, you're going to want to right click and just kind of drag. If you want to go up and down, hold Control, then right click. You can go up and down however far you or up you want. So I'm going to hit Control Tab, and I usually like to keep it in grid size 8. And how you know your grid sizes is you can go right up here where it says grid, click on it, and here's your grid sizes. I usually like to keep it in grid size 8. It's a pretty good size for walls and floors. So now when I'm mapping, I like to go to Textures, Locale, Tools. Now I'm going to click on Caulk. This is usually just a pretty good mapping texture in general. So I'm going to drag this out so it's to about that size. And then let's make it a little bit bigger, shall we? Okay, first things first, I'm going to hit escape to deselect everything. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And this is something I kind of use. I haven't been taught this. I just kind of figured this out on my own. If you right click, go actor, ally, US, or Russian, it doesn't really matter, and just click on one, it'll create a person in your map. And before you compile it, make sure you delete him. Make sure he's nice and level. This is just so you can reference to him, like how tall your walls should be and stuff. It's pretty useful, I think. The first thing I'm going to do is create a wall over here. Okay, so we'll make it about that long. I'm going to hit the space bar to make a copy of it in a complete replica. There we go. I'm going to hit Shift D to rotate it, or you could hit R and left click drag. But for this purpose, I'm just going to hit Shift D. I'm going to drag it into this corner, and spacebar, Shift D, drag it over here. Make sure these are overlapping. Space, Shift D. I'm going to do that again. So here we go. And for our purposes, guys, I apologize. I'm going to make it one more square bigger. And then I'm just going to drag this wall back, extend it out. Drag this wall back, extend it out. You can select two at once. I'm going to extend these all the way. I'm going to deselect with escape. Click on one, drag it to the outside. Click on the next one, drag it to the outside. There we go. And if we look right here, Control Tab, we can see that it's kind of short room. So I'm going to make it taller. That looks like good height. Okay, next thing we're going to do is if you come over here, you can see that it is overlapping right here. And also you right click to move around in here too, in the grid. So what you're going to want to do, and since we made a perfect square, it kind of helps out, you're going to hit the X, and then when you left click, you'll see a blue dot, and then click the next blue dot for where you want it. As you can see, it cut the wall right there. Now if you don't want to get rid of that wall, you're going to want to hit Shift Enter, and then we'll keep the wall. But if you do want to delete it, just hit Enter. So now I'm going to Shift left click to deselect these two walls. And as you can see, the overlapping corners are there, so I'm going to hit backspace to delete them. Now when we click on them, it comes to a nice angle right in there, as we can all see. And that just helps out for mapping later on and detailing. So let's go ahead and do this to the rest of the map. Once again, you hit X to bring up your cutting tool. And since I'm in a perfect square, it's going to cut all the way across. And I'm just going to Shift Enter to keep my walls. Now I'm just going to deselect all my walls. You can see the overlapping corners are still selected. I'm going to hit backspace. I deleted them. Now if we Shift left click on these, we can see that they come to a nice angle in here. Now next thing we are going to want to do is, let's see, let's create a window. Oh, actually no, I'm wrong. Okay, so we don't really need him anymore, so you're going to Shift left click on him, backspace. Before we leave this map, we're going to want to hit save right there. So now I'm going to open up the original stockpile map. So I named it Not Zombie Just for Kicks 1. So when I open this up, you can see all these things are in here. Now there's a few things you are going to need for your map to run, otherwise your map will crash on you. Shift left click on these 5 things right here. They're called script struct, and the thing in the center is called info player start. Actually guys, we aren't going to do that. We can do that later on. We can just do it ourselves, and I think I'll teach you that way instead. What we are going to do though is you need this right here. Here. If we zoom out in our grid, guys, you can see this kind of like invisible box that you can't see here. But now if I click, there's like an invisible wall right here. For prototype maps, I don't really know why, but you need that wall for some reason. So we're just going to go ahead and select that here. I don't know if I have it selected. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to select the roof. not the right click. Oh, and what I did there, guys, is if you have two textures overlapping, you can right click and just select one of them, which is what I'm doing. And then I'm gonna come down here and select the base, and it seems like, okay, our wall still doesn't, there we go. No, there, select our base. Perfect. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit File, Open, Save Changes First. No. Then I'm gonna go into my new map. So Nazi Zombie Just for Kicks. Copy selection. Hit Yes. Okay, so now you can see we have this invisible box around our map, and we need it for some reason for the map not to crash. I'm not 100% sure why, but we just need it. Just trust me on it. Okay, so there is that box. And now I think about it, it's actually your sky, which can be kind of useful. And so, next thing you're going to want to do is we'll create a little doorway. So I'm going to shift left click on the wall, right here. And I'm going to get that actor back out here, the actor ally Russian Hero 1. I'm gonna get him back out here just so I can see how tall my wall is supposed to be, or my doorway. So I'm gonna shift left click, and I'm gonna make it about this wide. So I'm gonna hit X, cut the wall, shift enter. There we go, and I'm gonna do it on the other side. X, click twice, shift enter. So now here is a cutout piece of wall. So now if you hit Control Tab, we can change our direction. And we can just left click, drag this up, but make sure you hit X again so you're not cutting anymore. So shift left, drag this up. As you can see, that wall just comes up nicely right there, and we have made ourselves a little doorway. Beautiful. I'm gonna make it just a little bit taller. Okay, so now next thing I'm going to want to do is probably put a ceiling on this map. So to do that, we're just gonna left click, drag, and if we hit Control Tab, we can see it's overlapping our wall, and you can also see that by coming out here. You can see it kind of like glitching out right here. So I'm just gonna drag that up here. There we go. And then I'm gonna to select only one side instead of the whole brush for a texture. You can hit Control Shift. So when I select, you can see I only select that one side. I'm just going to hit cock so it lines up nicely. I'm just going to do that all around my building. There we go. Okay, so now that that's done, we'll put, let's say, a little light in here. And to make a light, you're going to want to right click, come down here to where it says light, obviously, and just drag it to where you want it. And as you can see, it gives you a little light preview, which is kind of nice, but that's not exactly what it looks like in the map. And so we'll raise this up, and you can even edit this light however you want. So I'm gonna hit the space bar, and we'll drag it into this corner over here, wherever that is, right there. And if you hit N, you can see something that says color. If you double left click on that, it'll bring up this window, and you can change it to whatever color you want. And so I'm going to change it to, let's say, blue, because that's kind of a cool color. See? Now we have a blue light. It's pretty cool. If you want your light to be brighter, you just double click in here, and you can change it. This will be your radius. So let's say 400. You just click down here. Now it shines more around the map compared to this one. Beautiful. So now next thing we're going to want to do is you need a window for your zombie to come through for your zombie spawns. So for that, we are going to go to MISC right here, prefab. We'll go down to, I got some extra files in here because I make my own prefabs from time to time. We'll go to Traverse, and we'll go to wallhop.map, and just click that. So now it's kind of funky looking. Alright, just right there. And I just hit N to get rid of that little window there. Now I'm just going to drag this down all the way so it's parallel with my floor. I'm going to drag it over to a wall, and to change my grid, so I want this to be kind of even, so I'm going to hit grid 4. Now it's a little bit smaller so I can drag it. Now it's in the center. It's all centered up around my wall. As you can see, it's not quite touching the ground yet, so I'm going to drag that down a little bit more yet. And to make this even, I'm going to put it right in the center. Okay, now this is more of a reference. You do need it for your zombies to hop through your window, but it's a reference as for now. So I'm going to shift left click on this wall. I'm going to hit the 3 on my keyboard to shrink my grid size, and you can go further down the numbers or up to change your grid size. And X right on the edge of this little traverse thing we did here, the little wall hop thing. I'm going to deselect that so I'm not cutting it. We're going to do that again on the other side. Shift enter. Okay, and now I'm simply just going to cut right on here. Shift enter, and I'm going to hit escape to deselect everything, and then I'm going to reselect this one with the shift left click, and then I'm just going to simply drag this up so it's about even with my doorway, which is 2 blocks down, 2 grid units down right there. Okay, looks pretty good. So now we got a tiny little window for our zombies to come through. Next things, now the zombies are also going to need a little bit room to walk, so I'm just going to extend our map here a little bit. Now to make this even more realistic, what we'll do is texture it. So I'm going to Control Shift and select the inside of walls here. I'm going to make sure I select all of them. Looks like I do. So we'll go to Textures, Usage, Interior Wall. There's a lot of textures in here, and so you can kind of play around with them. But for my sake, I'm going to just do, let's say, this texture. Now, as you can see, the texture looks different on the wall than it actually does. So what you're going to want to do is hit S, fit, and now it fits on the walls all nice. Except for up there. We don't want that. So I'm going to Control Shift up here, Control Shift, and just click on it. And it's not cooperating. So in this case scenario, this usually doesn't happen, but sometimes it will. You know, I hit S again, and we'll shift it by, let's say, 5. We'll do a vertical shift. We'll just keep going. Okay, now we're gonna want to shrink this down. We're gonna want to make that go up a little bit, just so it lines up. There we go. There we go. See? Now it's lined up pretty close. I mean, it's close enough. For our floor, and this is where that clip tool comes in handy, because we don't want our floor to be outside too. So what we'll do is we'll shift left click, hit X to use our clipping tool, and we'll just clip along the edge of the walls. I'm going to deselect the part I just clipped. We're going to do that again right here. And if you accidentally click in the wrong spot, you can just hit X to deselect it. So say X, I do this, and that's not what I want. Just hit X and it'll go away. And now we'll do this wall. Control or Shift Enter. My bad. Deselect that. And one more time on this side. We'll go Shift Enter. There we go. See, now we got a nice little floor on our inside. So I'm going to hit Escape, hit Control Shift on the floor, and we'll go Textures, Usage, Floor. There's a lot of textures in here, so you can play around however you'd like. But for our sake, we're going to do a beautiful wooden floor. Lovely. As you can see, this is where detailing starts to come in. And so around here, around my doorways, I'm just gonna do a little trim. And it's kind of hard to do. So Just a little trim. And I know it's a floor texture, but if you look at it, it looks just fine. And now see how this thing was kind of in the way for me? If you hit shift, left click, so now we have it selected, then hit H, it will hide it. So now I can do any detailing I want. Now I want to get back to the textures I was using on my walls, and so to do that I'm just going to hit U. And so here's all the textures I've used so far. So I'm going to click on this one, except I'm going to hit vertical shift. We're just going to make sure that comes up. Alright, there we go. That looks pretty lined up. I'm going to shift, control shift, select this again, create my little trim. And there you have it. A lovely little room. Now for the ground, or actually we'll do the outside of the building. So this is what, oh my bad, I'm so sorry. Kind of an off day for me. We're going to do the ceiling now, so control shift, textures, usage, ceiling. There's a lot of things we could do in here, but I'm just going to do that. There we go. So actually I'm going to do that. Yeah, I like it better. So now what we'll want to do is do the outside of our building. So once again, control shift to select all the outside edges. Oh, I missed one up here. There. There we go. We'll go textures, usage, exterior wall. And we'll make it a lovely brick building. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we got ourselves a brick building. And you can do the roof, but a word of the wise, when you start making big maps, like on these outside areas, you won't normally see them. And so if you can't see it, just leave it as a caulk texture, because when you go into the map, it will make your map run a lot smoother. But for this sake, we're just doing a one-room map, so we're gonna do our ceiling too, so, or our roof. Textures, usage, roof. And we'll do something simple. We'll stick with that. Okay, so next thing we're going to want to do is do our outside. So we're going to go control shift, select our outside. And I usually map before I put any of the necessities in for a zombie map, like where your players spawn and stuff like that. It just makes it kind of easier and faster to do. So now we'll textures, usage, ground, and we'll have it be kind of grassy. You won't have these snow textures. I downloaded those from customcod.com. That's a lovely grass texture right there, so we'll stick with that. Okay, so next thing we'll want to do is, actually we'll end the video right about here, because now we got our basic map built and constructed, and the next video I'll show you guys how to do the extra stuff. We'll hit save first, and this is the end of part 2 to making a custom zombie map.